India, the world's largest democracy. India, one of the fastest growing economies. India, the land of opportunities and aspirations. Yes, in the era of 21st century, the world eyes India for various reasons. India is the biggest market for product consumption. The success of Mission Mars and then Chandrayaan 2 established us as a technology superpower. Many of the world's famous companies are being headed by Indians. But today, India is facing the biggest challenge ever, and that is the increasing rate of unemployment.
The country is producing more than 1 crore 10 lakhs graduates every year. And we are aware that they are not employable. How to make them employable? It is not enough if we know. We have to find out a solution and we will have to execute, we will have to address that problem.
The data of unemployment in India is really a matter of concern. According to a household survey conducted by CMIE, the rate of unemployment in India touches as high as 8.5% limit in October 2019, which is said to be the highest in last 3 years. The analysis of US Census Bureau says that almost 47 million people are surplus compared to jobs available in the Indian market. A situation that is going to be unprecedentedly grave due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The coronavirus outbreak and the ensuing lockdown will have major impact on the country's employment scenario. As per the survey conducted by Confederation of Indian Industry, the CII, there will be a loss of about 30% of the jobs. Since the MSME sector is the second largest employment provider, their employees will get hit the most, though unemployment is at alarming rate today. But the situation is deteriorating since long. In 2003, the Rao panel expressed the concern that India was producing excess engineers.
We have so many engineers coming out of India. Many of them are not talented enough. Well, they need to retool. Don't retool in the same area. When you know that you are not a good athlete or you will never be a good athlete, you thought you would be a good athlete, but then you realize in the face of competition that you can't be a good athlete. There's no point in training hard at being an athlete. You need to try and do something else. So try to move away from what you have done.
A lot of these young people who are coming out are people who are not very clear what is their objective in life. What do you want to do 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now? That's one big issue. Okay, they've gone and joined some course because somebody has told them to do this course, somebody has forced them to do this course. Is this the course? Is this tying in with the passion that they have in life? Is this tying in with the purpose that they have in life? Is a question mark.
After economic liberalization in 1991, there was a boom in IT industry. BTech and engineering degrees became the favorite option for the aspiring youth. This resulted in a quantitative increase in engineering colleges in India. A report by IIT Mumbai in 2007-8 says that the sanctioned intake for BTech degree in 1990 was 87,059 seats, which became 2,26,484 in 2001. That is more than 2.5 times in mere 11 years. But this increasing quantity lacked the quality. In 2005, the report of McKinsey, which said that only 25% of Indian engineers were employable, was the real warning. In 2017, Aspiring Minds reports that 95% of Indian engineers are not fit for software-related jobs. This shows that human resource in India is suffering from a skill gap.
At entry level, for any job, the first exam, whatever they conduct, whether it is public sector or private sector, is the cognitive capacity test. If an issue is given, whether a candidate is in a position to find out the problem and to find out the solution. And this is where most of our youngsters are lagging behind.
It was the time of 1970s and 80s, the year of white revolution and IT revolution, due to which people got jobs on a large scale. Then in the 90s, globalization resulted in the new revolution in service sector and millions of youth had handsome jobs in their hands. But after that, the situation changed. We kept producing thousands and thousands of job seekers in the country, and while job availability drastically kept reducing, nobody bothered about how and where these educated youths would get their jobs. India needs a new revolution.
We are still learning or teaching our kids concepts that were valid in the 80s. Whereas we need to be teaching them concepts that are valid for 2030. So we need to get change as part of our system.
If we see the progress of the Indian economy, we can easily understand that almost in every decade, India has had a revolution. Now, this is the era of innovation and creativity. A study done by CHRO says that by 2020, creativity will be the third most important skill. For the next 20 years, we will witness a new trend of innovation culture that will drive the country's economy. Simple, indigenous solutions to complex problems with focus on localized application will set the tone for the future.
So the ability to look at the same thing from a different perspective is creativity. Why we should encourage creativity is because we are slowly but surely becoming a very mediocre generation. We accept mediocrity as a way of life. To get out of this mediocrity, you need to get creative. You need to be innovative. You need to ask questions. You need to say, why is it working like this? Why can't it work in a different way?
Out of 15 lakh job seekers, approximately only 1 lakh can get jobs every year.
I think it's a paradigm shift in attitude that has to really come in. An attitude that, what I'm learning in college is just not enough. I can't just go by what the prescribed method of the education system is. While that's good to get marks, good marks don't get jobs.
It is said that artificial intelligence and robotics made people jobless, but innovation and new ideas can make people job creators.
You need to make artificial intelligence and machine learning your ally. They can't be your adversary. Our life is going to be easy with the advent of AI and machine learning. I remember back in the day when bank employees went on a strike and said, do not introduce computers in bank, we will be left jobless. That did not happen. So this is a scare that they use. Nothing is going to happen. We're going to go into a better world wherein companies are going to be able to interact more intensively, identify your needs more intensively, and then the human being is going to come and close the deal.
Karnataka is the best example to be learned from. Let's have a look on how once an educational hub of India has now become a startup hub. Karnataka has been known as a state of reputed educational institutions. According to the census of 2011, about 20%, that is 19.4% of the population of the state was counted as youth. All India Survey on Higher Education in the year 2018-19 shows that the number of registered colleges in the state is 3,670, in which more than 1.5 million students are studying. But the question now is, after college, what will they do? How and where will they be able to get jobs? In fact, out of 47 million job seekers in India, at least 19 million will be emerging out of Karnataka's education corridor due to the cumulative effect of the past few years.
So we need to encourage art and make it a possible livelihood for people who are inclined towards that. You just can't have all of us being mechanical engineers or coding. You need to have some amount of beauty in your life too.
The ecosystem of youth of Karnataka has changed now. They opt to be the job creator rather than be a job seeker.
You handhold them and give them opportunity by microfinancing them. Microfinancing actually doesn't cost us some. Each person may need about 20,000, 30,000 something. They're very, very honest. Give them to earn their livelihood being where they are. Either Manipur, Nagaland, or Sikkim, or Rajasthan, or Thodas from Tamil Nadu.
According to PINB data, there are altogether 2,847 startups in Karnataka. A NASSCOM Zenove report in 2018 said that after Silicon Valley and London, Bengaluru was the third biggest tech startup hub in the world. Karnataka had been one of the first states to launch a startup policy in 2015. Apart from the state funding, global venture capitals have been also pouring money into the startups in the state. In 2017, Bengaluru had bagged the maximum venture capital investments with 5.8 billion US dollars through 294 deals. Karnataka is positioned as the second most preferred destination in the world for startup funding, with Bengaluru being next only to Silicon Valley. The seriousness of the government for startups could be understood by the fact that a nodal department has been formed under the supervision of a principal secretary. The inclination of the youth towards entrepreneurship has not only changed the lives of the people but the picture of the cities as well. Karnataka is 10 years ahead in Asia as the innovation hub and the knowledge industry know-how. This is why when the country is facing the highest level of unemployment rate, Karnataka still has a control over it.
The market is huge. There are a lot more support for entrepreneurships today. There are a lot more funds coming up. There are many institutes and organizations who are coming up to support entrepreneurs and accelerator programs that are there.
What a young company needs is not so much capital, it needs customers. And once they find paying customers for that, they are up and running. And when you create 40 to 50 companies of this nature every month, it is possible. We have surfeit of talent in Bangalore. Someone wants to solve the problem using geo satellites. Someone wants to solve the problem using push notification. There are various problems and solutions, everything bordering on how do I use a mobile app. So Government of Karnataka can give them that visibility to scale, and we will have a lot of young companies that are very well equipped to hire new people.
Periodic Labour Force Survey believes that Karnataka's unemployment stands at 4.8%, which is significantly below the national average. If Karnataka can do, why not India? India as a country has to leverage the advantage of being the third largest startup ecosystem in the world by accelerating and by making the economy leapfrog through micro enterprises and startups very aggressively. Entrepreneurship is the way to leapfrog the economy to a trajectory of high growth by engaging the surplus population constructively. Hence, the time demands of a revolution in entrepreneurship. Educational institutions must become the launch pads of entrepreneurship and innovation with indigenous and localized solutions. If the communities come together and walk forward to entrepreneurship, the problem of unemployment can be solved convincingly.
Entrepreneurship bent of mind is people who take accountability for what they're doing. You may be an employee, you may be a manager, you may be a general manager, you may be the managing director, you may be the chairman, you may be the owner. It doesn't matter. So we need to encourage people to get into this mindset of being an entrepreneur.
This revolution can establish a new society where people can regulate their market as per their demands and need locally. This theory of job creation would be based on complementing each other as the new normal rather than competing. In 2020, India already has 47 million surplus youth population with no jobs available. But community entrepreneurship can lead to 47 million job creators.
The government can definitely play its part by being very serious about what it does, right from fisheries to horticulture to poultry to producer companies to aggregate rural fragmented land holdings to make them one big land holding. We have the examples in front of us. Amul is a fantastic example of how you can aggregate separated milk producers and make a big cooperative out of it. So we need that sort of thing to happen to make sure that the fragmented population of the rural area is able to gang up together and make the commodities that they do and brand it well and sell it. We need to keep our chin up and hope that tomorrow is going to be better than today.
Teach them how to do business, either fishiculture or agriculture or whatever, piggery, whatever you do that. After that, how do you put it in the market? You teach the tribals and the rural people.
The IT fraternity is in Bangalore, in Karnataka, and they are doing a lot of CSR work, to implement the digital literacy education in the rural areas. So this can become a model. For example, Bangalore can take the services from the Kanakpura or Mandya or Hubli kind of thing. So this can become a model, can be replicated across the nation. Okay, and the IT may be one segment. Okay, there are non-IT segment, which can be taken up in the same manner at all India level.
Young India can empower and enable itself with new ideas and innovation. Post-COVID crisis, the global economy will be in a recession that could be worsening into economic depression, with 100 times more severe than the world faced after the world wars. With small and large businesses facing serious existential threat, job losses across sector is imminent. According to the IMF World Economic Outlook, in the post-COVID-19 world, India will be the only major economy other than China to maintain a positive GDP growth. In such a scenario, India must take the role of a global leader by leading a focused, strategy-driven fight against the looming unemployment crisis. India must show the world the way forward through use of labor with intensive technologies, accelerating investment in agriculture, diversification of agriculture with food process, farm equipment, innovation, etc., labor-intensive industrial growth with vertical cluster approach, services and employment growth, education, health and employment generation by educational institutions becoming a launchpad for innovation and entrepreneurship as a revolution. Forced entrepreneurship is a revolution based on vertical clusters and mass entrepreneurship built on local skill sets and local resources. Aggressively boosting micro enterprises and startups for strong, robust local interdependent economies. Focus on technology innovation and creative business learning models that the world can adapt to for evolving a new age economy in manufacturing. Support to community-based entrepreneurship with localized solutions. India can lead this revolution for 3 reasons. First, today India is the youngest of all. Second, India is gradually becoming the hub of startups. And third, we have a large population which wants to prove itself at a global stage. So let's start, and very soon we shall be able to say, "Keh do duniya se," copy that.